great in providing me a few notes that I'm just going to go through to remind you a little bit of what we've had during the day. And if you've missed some of it, you will be able to watch it very soon. It will be put online. I understand that there is a webcast that might be available right away, actually. So Lillian Edwards this morning spoke to us in her keynote. Now, she is the Chair of Law, Innovation and Society at Newcastle University. She looked at the interplay between COVID-19 and digital rights. In her presentation, she looked at the dangers posed by state-controlled contract tracing apps, extended private sector surveillance in the workspace and on campuses, and by digital IDs in the public health context. Specifically, she demonstrated how these different surveillance technologies pose privacy and speech assembly concerns. Afterwards, there was a healthy Q&A, in fact, so healthy that we kind of ran out of time, so she will Lillian will put her presentation on site and also respond to the additional questions that were there. But the questions touched on a range of arguments, including the tension between strict privacy laws and an effective public health response, and also the need to look at the whole the system, not just as an isolated country by country level discussion, but more as a whole ecosystem of contact tracing and information that gets collected out there. Then there was a panel on building trust in digital identity, and it discussed the importance of ensuring that digital identity systems are trustworthy, how COVID has shown a spotlight on the digital identity, privacy and security. How do you regulate the ecosystem beyond those who you have direct control over? How do we broaden the conversation out to public and wider stakeholders? And what terminology should we be using? Do we refer to identity or use simpler language? The panel welcomed the government's recent response to the digital identity call for evidence as a first step in the conversation and called for further detail and a clear timeline. However, the group noted their disappointment that the media picked up the wrong messaging of scaremongering, which highlighted the need for broader education in this area. The group all agreed that the digital identity debate feels ripe in the UK and that the pandemic has forced us into answering some of the bigger and more difficult questions. And going forward, the panelists suggested that we need less talk and more bold leadership to implement a digital identity. That came from Bern. We need more to think, we need to think about the end result and what we need to do about the person. That was from Edgar. That with the future of technology becoming more intertwined with physical devices, we are going to get huge centralized power. And how can we mitigate this? That was from Michael. And then, of course, lastly, what we need is a clearer transparency and ethics, as well as a clear public education roadmap to counteract negative media. Then we had a lunch break, and after the lunch break came Henriette Esthuizen, the IGF MAC chair, who provided us with a keynote speaking about how the IGF should be multi-stakeholder, multi-sectoral, and multidisciplinary. She highlighted how inclusion is not easy and restful and can add noise and complexity, but adds understanding and relationships which can develop more robust policy. She also argued that we need to package national and global IGF outcomes to make them more user-friendly at a national level. So that was the first part, if you want, on this. And then afterwards, we had the last session today, where we heard from the panelists that discussed the definition of digital inequality. They are the systematic differences about who benefits and who doesn't. There are multiple drivers for digital inequality: poverty, social economics, familiarity, safety, and a sense of belonging. It was discussed that digital inclusion appears to be more acceptable to talk about than poverty. And it was also mentioned that often the perception is that if we do something about the individual, then the problems will be solved. And this really isn't the case. Digital inequalities were exacerbated by COVID-19 and its subsequent lockdowns. Actually, I've just put an S, hoping it's just one lockdown, but it looks like it might not be. Ellen argued that we need to focus on the outcomes rather than just measuring success in terms of inclusion, such as access or skills training. Atif said that in the age of digital inclusion, we need to make sure devices are accessible and have assistive technologies that are useful for people, and that its key is that we integrated lived experiences in our development and rollout of technologies. And we also heard from international examples outside the global north, from India to South Africa. So it's been quite a full day, as you can see. We have another 2 days of UK IGF that are coming up tomorrow and the day after. Tomorrow will be chaired or convened by my colleague Sheetal Kumar from Global Partners Digital. And it will start again at 10 a.m. with Caroline Dinenage, who is the Minister for DCMS, and she will be speaking to us about UK digital strategy. That will be followed by a panel discussion on examining algorithmic transparency and how to achieve it. Then later on in the afternoon session, Miles Allen, who's a professor of geosystem science and head of the climate dynamics group at the University of Oxford, will speak to us about what we're doing at the moment, which is effectively this impact on the environment by us all being on our computers, the impact of the internet, of course, and ICT technologies on the environment. And there will be a panel discussion following this with the internet and environment. And then we'll finalize the day with a networking session, which will be interesting, as it's I would say probably one of the first networking sessions of its kind, where we're not meeting around a glass of wine and cheese and wine and so on in person, but still continue to network. So that will be an interesting day. And then the Thursday will be convened by Ben Bradley from Tech UK. Also very exciting day, starting with an address on the current state of the internet by Ye Chung Tae, the Group Director for Strategy and Research from Ofcom. And that will be followed by a panel discussion on the role of the internet in mitigating the economic impact of COVID-19 and fueling the recovery in the UK. A very, very big topic indeed. As you know, we're not out of it yet, so there's plenty going on, and it will be interesting to see what we can think about as a group and what resolutions can come out of it. And finally, we'll have in the early afternoon, 1400, the UK IGF 2020 wrap-up that will be with Sheetal, Ben, and I. So until then, I think I'd like to thank again the speakers. Thank you, the audience that has been joining us both throughout the day and also for specific sessions. As I said, it's all going to be on the net. Tweet at hashtag UKIGF20, and you can also download, I think some of the presentations are already on the site. So for those people that have asked for the presentations, they are already on there. And with this, usually I should just tell you have a very good evening and enjoy the rest of your day. But since we're broadcasting worldwide, I could also say have a very good morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you are. And that's it for the day. Thank you and goodbye.